Hi there, I'm Jake Humphrey. You're listening to High Performance, the podcast that delves into the minds of some of the most successful athletes, visionaries, entrepreneurs and artists on the planet, and aims to unlock the very secrets to their success. As ever, I'm not alone. I'm resident psychologist, professor and author of the seminal football book, The Barcelona Way. Damien Hughes is with us and we're in your hometown.
I know, here in Manchester, rainy Manchester.
No travel for you for this one.
It's been good.
It's not raining either, which is remarkable. Not only are we in Manchester, we're in a place called Rosso, which is basically the place to eat in Manchester. And we're with the guy who helped to set it up. Not only is he a restaurateur, he's also a football pundit, a media mogul, a brand ambassador. He's won everything you can win, apart from the FA Cup, with Manchester United. And he's invited us for a high-performance chat in his own restaurant. Rio Ferdinand, welcome to High Performance.
How you doing?
Nice to have you with us. Yeah, very good. Listen, in my experience, massively successful people don't spend much time dwelling on their success. So when we sit here in your restaurant, in your city, where you dominated football for all those years, do you reflect? Do you think, yeah, life's good? Or are you the kind of person that has always moved on to the next win, the next challenge, the next adventure?
Yeah, I've never sat and dwelled on stuff that I've won in that moment. I think I was always fearful of doing that because I thought if I do that, my eyes been taken off what's coming down the road. So I never ever. I mean, probably a good indicator of how intense that was we won the Champions League in Moscow, and after you win the Champions League, you get changed and you go to the hotel where there's a party or a little gathering for the families and friends and all the players and staff. And within the first 15-20 minutes, I searched out David Gill and said, "Listen, Mr. Gill, how you doing? Rio, brilliant. How you doing?" I said, "Right, so who are we buying next year?
Wow.
Who are we getting?" He said, "What
how
do you
long
mean?"
after the final?
Like a couple of hours. It was like, he said, "Are you crazy? Like, just enjoy the night." I said, "Yeah, but who are we getting? We've got to win this. We've got to be here next year. I want to be here next year again." And so that's just what was always the way I was. I always I was scared. I was fearful of just trying to enjoy too much in the moment, because I wanted the future to have pure clarity and understand I'm going to go there again.
And do you think that's a healthy or an unhealthy way to be? It's probably massively rewarding and it probably helps you to achieve a lot, but maybe exhausting as well.
Well, I look at it, when I look back and reflect now in retirement, I look back and I see Liverpool are now starting to win. They win a trophy. They're doing a tour, open bus tour around the city. All the fans are out. City win the Carling Cup at the time. They're in the city doing an open top bus tour, and we won the Champions League and the Premier League that year in Moscow. Arrived back into Manchester. If there was 50 fans there waiting for us to welcome us home, I would be lying. And then the manager said, "Right, guys, well done. I'll see you for pre-season." And I'm sitting there thinking, at the time I was fine because that was it. But after I look back now and think, we didn't even really celebrate after things we won. We didn't really go mad and really indulge and actually and show people like this is what it means to us.
Yep.
It was very machine-like, very clinical. But again, when you sit there and wait up, well, if we'd gone the other way and become like these other people, would we have sustained the success that we kind of went on to achieve?
I wonder whether that is a specific creation of Sir Alex Ferguson at that time, to build a culture like that at Manchester United where it's about achieving the success, not celebrating the success.
It's interesting, I've heard Gary Neville speak about when he was asked to sum up his experience at Manchester United in one word, he used the word relentlessness. It was that idea that once you win something you go again.
Yeah, that's
it's
it, yeah.
Unrelenting.
100%. I mean, like, another example, Ben Foster. He hadn't grown up at Manchester United. He got brought in from Watford, I think it was. Great lad. Played in the Carling Cup final. We won. He was man of the match. Put on a great performance. And I remember an article he'd done when he left the club and saying that I was sitting in the change room and I looked over in the corner and the Carling Cup was just sitting there on its own. And I couldn't get my head around it. They weren't celebrating. There wasn't a party. There wasn't what I anticipated seeing. And I was sitting there. At the time, I can understand it now. At the time, I was frustrated. I was thinking that's why you're not a Man United player. That's why you had to go. That's why you had to leave, because you didn't understand. And you didn't buy into that early enough. That we got a game Tuesday, Champions League. We just won the Carling Cup, but what are you going to do? Celebrate and then all of a sudden put yourself at a negative starting point for the next game against, I don't know, Roma in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. No thanks. That's bigger pictures over there. Won that, thank you, in the back pocket, see you later, on to the next one.
But what intrigues me though, Rio, is that were you always like that yourself, relentless, or was that something you learned by going into a different environment?
I was obsessed with football. From a young kid, I used to travel far and wide to go and play football, to just go and train with one of my best mates, travel through like a traveller's camp, where it can be a bit tricky getting through. There's wild dogs hanging about and stuff, and people and whatnot, and over different estates to get to a certain patch of grass, which we thought this is a great place to train, and train for a few hours and then come back. That's after playing a Sunday league game on that morning probably, but just mad stuff. Like, I play football till all the time I could get, where I'd train and try and get better. I'd always do it, and it was that relentless. The word relentless probably signifies a lot of how I was when I was a kid. Like, I was hard working. I was always wanted to improve, and I always wanted to be better than the next man. I'd take it as a personal insult, or my pride would take a beating, or I'd find it embarrassing that I'm not the best. I'm not the best one in my year at school. I'm not the best one in my team. The team need me more than anyone else to play to succeed.
And what preceded that though? Like, why did you think like that? Why did you feel you had to be the best in anything that you did?
I don't know.
Was it drummed into you?
No, my dad wasn't a football man. My dad was into kung fu.
Yeah, but you don't need to be a football man to be into being the best.
My dad wasn't. I'll tell you one thing. My dad never let me win anything as a kid.
So you
I never won.
To be
so
successful.
I was striving to be successful at something. So if it's playing cards against him, or playing tennis against him, or racing him, or chasing him when he was on a bike. He used to make me run, and he'd go on a bike and say, "Chase me."
So I wonder then whether you weren't actually obsessed with football. You thought you were obsessed with football. You were actually obsessed with being the best. Football was your chosen thing, yes.
Maybe, yeah, when you think of it like that.
But it was about being better than everybody around.
And I think also is proving to people I can do something, I can be good at that. Like my dad, for example, like proving to him that one day I'm going to beat you, watch. One day I'll beat you in a race.
And what happened when you did beat him?
Nothing really. It was right. I need to be faster than there's someone over there who beats me. Who I've got to beat now. It was never like I'll beat my dad and I'll rest on my laurels. It was never. There was someone else who I've got to claw my way up to. And on my estate, another thing probably as well, I was always the youngest in my group of friends. So if you come to my house now when I have a gathering or my wedding, for instance, all my mates I grew up with are there, most of them, and they're all like 3, 4, 5 years older than me. So as a young kid playing football, that's good because you're playing against people who can dominate you. The majority of them are quicker than you, so you've got to find other ways and to beat people, other tricks to do things with, and to get the better of people that are physically way up the ladder than you.
But that's quite unusual for a kid to have friends that are 3 or 4 years ahead of them at school. So was that something you deliberately sought out?
No, it's just the way it was on my estate because I loved football, and the guys that played football on my estate who I, in my mind, thought was around my level or a bit better were older. The guys who were my age really weren't good enough at football. I used to think, what's boring playing with these guys? I want to play with the big guys. So I'd go over, and obviously I've made friends, and then also that just became lifetime friends, but they helped me like no other. And then after that, when I got to probably like 11, 12, 13, I'd go on to other estates and play against other kids and other adults. So we'd go and find a group of guys at a place called Burgess Park, and these guys were like adults, men who would turn up in cars, play 11-a-side games on AstroTurf, and me and my mate would just kick around on the side, hoping that one of them would see us and go, actually, them guys look like they can handle the ball. Do you want to come and play? Or someone get injured or has to go early. Guys, keep the numbers up. You come on, you on that team, you go on that team. And then these guys, they treated us like adults, kicked you, smashed you all over the place.
How did you react to that?
You couldn't react, because if you react like a baby, they're going to take you off the pitch. Or you showed any type of fear, or you wasn't up to it. So again, you got to prove yourself quickly. So that environment was really, again, I always remember that's a good environment to grow up in as a young kid, because in a cage playing football against these people, there's no way out.
It's almost like you didn't realise how those early sort of formative days were equipping you for when you're standing on a football pitch winning the Champions League or the Premier League, but actually you can probably trace the journey right back to the lessons that you learn as an 8, 9, 10-year-old. And there'll be parents listening to this, or even 8 and 9, 10-year-olds listening to this, not realising that the things that are happening today do have a direct impact 20 years later.
Yeah, definitely. And also, like, not only the good things, but also some of the bad things. Like, I was 13, 14 years old, mate. 14, I had a growth spurt, as most kids do. And I became like Bambi on ice. Like, no coordination. I couldn't put a ball where I'd normally put it. Just the coordination had gone completely. And that lasted probably 8 months.
Right.
And I'd gone from being someone that West Ham had gone out to go and get and become a schoolboy player for West Ham, and they Frank Lampard's dad, we want you, come on, to being a sub. And I'm sitting there thinking, wow, I'm doubting myself, am I going to make it? It's hard. But then that's the mental strength comes in, and you've got to be strong enough to build yourself up. And I was lucky, I had a couple of people around me, my district manager at the time and my family, who were like, listen, it will get better, don't worry, this happens.
But what happened with, like, the guys that you were describing that you would go and play with? How did they respond when you were going on and kicking around with them and
no, because I was good enough technically.
Right.
You're all right. Doesn't matter how old you are. Listen, he's good. He can play with us. It's fine. You make up the numbers. But the moment you cry off or something like that, then you get abused.
So it was the emotional control that they judged you by rather than your ability.
Yeah, if you're a baby, you're not playing with us. If you can come in here and take the kicks and take the bruises and take the being pushed to the floor and be good enough technically with the ball, then you can stay. So, and I was never the best player on my estate, never.
Right.
Weird. I was never the best player on my estate. One, I was younger than most, but there were some good players, man, on my estate.
I'm a massive, as you know, I'm a big advocate of failure and the importance of failing to move forwards. It's the only way of finding sort of where your limits are. And I think we equip the kids now. We're all parents sitting around this table. We equip our children to not fail, don't we? We make sure that things are put in their way so they always have a sort of nice, smooth path to success. But actually, that growth spurt where you turn into Bambi on ice and you suddenly couldn't play football to the level that you were, and there were doubts and question marks, that again is such a sort of formative moment. Like to fail at a young age, and then to have to find I know you had help from people, but to find your own way around that failure.
Yeah, and be patient. Kids today got no patience. They expect everything on a silver plate now. Everything's immediate, whether it's your social media, all these apps and that, everything's instant. So they expect success to be instant as well, and they expect that whatever they do, whether it's physical activity, work, it's going to be instant success, instant rewards. We reward them ourselves. We're guilty of that ourselves as well. So it's about training them and making them aware that, listen, there are going to be failures. And this is what I say to my kids all the time. You are not going to be the best all the time, and you're going to fail at some times. You're going to lose. But it's how you going to react. You're going to cry? Crying is not a problem. It's fine. Cry. But what are you going to do then to stop that emotion coming on again and feeling that pain? And that's what I say to my boys all the time. I used to cry. I was a bad loser. I like bad losers. But now the kids are being taught not to lose. Yeah. There's no winners and losers anymore. I can't get my head around it. I go into the school and ask the head teacher, well, why is there no first, second and third? In life, there's first, second and third. There's last place in life. And they're not being brought up to actually understand that the realities in life is they're going to be in that situation at some point.
Which leads me to a really interesting question, Rio, of like, you have a certain perception that your talent was obvious from a very early age, and these guys that you're playing football with obviously saw you were had a level of ability. But what age did you come to the realisation that it was more than talent that was going to take you to where you wanted to go?
I don't know, 16 probably.
Right.
Like, I just knew I had to, I don't know if it was, I just knew that I had to outwork everyone. Like me and Frank Lampard, I was lucky. Sometimes it's good to buddy up with people as well. Me and Frank Lampard are from completely different backgrounds. But we had a common goal and a common idea of what we wanted in life, which was to be as good footballers as we could be. And we kind of just edged each other on in that respect. Like, he was a hard-working guy, I was hard-working, and I saw he would be doing something over there. I can't let him have the edge on me. I'm going to do that as well. And he'd be the same on the other way. So it was just like, and I was fortunate to have that buddy who I could look at and draw inspiration from at times. Oh, he's been picked by the reserve team, and he's only just turned 17. I want to do it at 16 and a half. So I'll be one above that. Do you know what I mean? And then I want 5 games in the reserves this year. Frank had 4. I want 5, 6, 7 maybe.
Right.
So I'll make sure I'm better. People see me as being a bit better than Frank type thing. So, and it wasn't from animosity or vindictive or being nasty. It was just like that was just competition between us, but never spoken about. And then the hard work on the back of all that was the key. We were just hard workers and loved and enjoyed football.
I guess you would have been in teams and playing with people who had as much ability as you, but the mental approach was so different. The lack of hard work really was what meant they didn't get as far as you got in the game.
Yeah, and some players, there's loads of players I could name who've got more ability than I had probably, but they didn't have the work ethic or the mental capacity to take loads of stuff on board. What comes with it, the pressure, expectations, dealing with all that.
How can you learn though to take the pressure? That's what I sort of wonder whether that is an innate thing. I don't know whether there's some sort of research done into this, but it feels to me like if you're 15 or 16, that is really young still. Some 15, 16-year-olds can take pressure, criticism, scrutiny. Others just simply can't, and I don't know whether you can equip them for that.
Do you know? Sorry, you give us a scientific answer after, but me and my mates we got a little chat group, WhatsApp group, and who I grew up on my estate with. And one of the common themes all the time is like the kids haven't got like the harsh reality banter that we used to have as a kid. So everyone got theirs. Everyone got grilled. Everyone got put down on the floor, and it was merciless. And that kind of, without that, I don't know if I could have taken the media attention as well as I have, or the negativity that comes from certain quarters in the media or on the terraces, etc. Like, could I have? Did that prime me up?
Did you have to learn to accept that sort of criticism?
Yeah, well, it's sink or swim. If you can't take it, you won't be in the crew. You won't be sitting on that wall till 10 o'clock at night.
So there was something about your background that intrigued me that links to this. That you spoke about. You did ballet for a number of years when you were there, and I'm interested that from a lad from Peckham, how was that perceived by that group of friends?
Brave, Rio. That's brave.
Yeah. Yeah, it's brave, definitely. But at first, I didn't say anything to my mates. Where you going? Because obviously I've got to walk off the estate with a backpack on. Where you going? I'm just going to my mates. That lasted a little while. What, mate? You never spoke about this, mate, before. No, I go to like a dance school. What, you do dance? No, I don't do dance. I go there, there's like street dancing. And then it became, you know what, I don't care. I go there and I do like ballet. What? A few laughs, a few giggles, a few sniggers here and there, but I was confident enough of my place within my group of friends that ain't going to affect my relationship with anyone, because they know I am someone who can give and take the banter the same, and I was very comfortable in my own skin, so I weren't really bothered about what they're going to say. And by the way, there's loads of girls I meet there as well, by the way, that you don't know about. Is that all right? So it was like weird, I don't know, and I was able to deal with that. I don't know why. A lot of people probably in my position, my background, wouldn't have done it because of the ridicule they'd have come under.
Yeah, of course.
But it comes back to being a sort of a leader rather than being led, doesn't it?
Yeah, I never wanted to be pigeonholed in my life. I've always been like that. I never knew it as being pigeonholed as a kid, but I never wanted to be, oh, you're a boy from an estate, you're not going to stay there and do that. You're going to go and be on the dole or go and work for the council.
But even now, oh, you're a footballer. Well, I'm not, because I've done this.
Yeah.
I've set up
and
magazines,
that was the same with
fashion
football.
labels.
Yeah, so that was the same when I played football. Opening this restaurant, I remember Sir Alex Ferguson and David Gill saying to me, well, you're a disgrace, what are you doing? You're a football player, blah, blah. Well, if you're going to be here to hold my hand when I retire and give me a job, guaranteed, well, I won't do all this, but I know you won't. So I need to set myself up doing stuff where I'll be busy, etc., to be able to do stuff in my later life.
But to go back to that circle of friends then that you had from Peckham, because we're all products of our environment in lots of different ways, and how many of them made that transition with you on your journey to then go into elite sport and then to go? No,
none of them. There's mixed kind of lives that we've had. Obviously, I don't know. Some went and worked for the council. Some just worked in the post office, normal jobs. Some were brickies. Some went prison.
Right.
So it's for all of us very different, really, in that sense. And then we've all come back together, a lot of us, and it's still all very different But one thing I would say is my mates, they were all all proud of, and I've only known that since like now, since I
Right.
retired, probably been speaking to them. You're men and you can speak openly, but like when I made it playing for West Ham in the Premier League and I'm on Match of the Day or made my debut for England or go and win the Champions League or whatever, I didn't realise at the time, but the sense of pride that I see them speak with now, like that was what one of my friends, he says, listen, I was kicking them balls with you every time you were playing, and you almost get emotional. I didn't know it meant that much to you. I hoped it did, and I hope that you felt like that, because I would have felt like that about you. But when someone tells you that and goes, well, listen, Rio, when you was doing that, I was in the pub telling people, that's my boy, that's my guy. We done it. We've been from the beginning with him, and so that's why I'm so happy now that we're all together now and we do stuff with our kids and as families now as well.
But do you think it would have helped you if they had been more explicit about that at the time as well?
I don't know. It might have been more pressure. I don't know, but I mean, there's probably a handful of them who were better than me at the time when we were kids. But then it comes back to that work ethic, application, desire, single-mindedness, discipline. And you've got to have all these things have got to come together for you to step away from that group of people to go and be single-minded, to go and make this happen.
But that's what really intrigues me for anyone listening on this, that I think that virtue of being prepared to walk away from a group of friends to forge your own path.
Oh yeah, massive.
That courage is something that
it's huge. It's even
rare.
It doesn't happen. That's what I'm saying. There's so many
Yeah.
kids now who get sucked into that and can't differentiate between just friends and I'm going to go and work now. And my mum was really, I didn't understand it. I just think your mum, you're just moaning. Rio, they're going to take you down. That group there are going to take you down. Not they're my immediate friends, but there's certain people that might have come around at certain times in my life. That person's not there for you, Rio. They want you to go and hang about and go out and do all this stuff when you should be going training and thinking about football, get in your bed and rest. I just go, Mum, what are you talking about? And then you realise, but even when you finish school, I had a window of about 15 minutes to mess about with my mates on the street after school. But I knew at that 15-minute hit the dot, the bus was turning up, and if I missed that bus, I missed the tube. And if I missed the tube, I missed the next train. And then I missed the bus after I get off the train, and I'm going to be late for training, I won't get there. So I know that 15 minutes, when it's up, I've got to go. There's no grey areas. And there weren't a time where I didn't get on that bus to go.
Wow.
I was
You were
gone.
quite a unique young kid on that estate then, weren't you? You weren't just like every other kid and a good footballer. Like, what's sort of coming out of this is actually you were making decisions, you were being bold and brave, actually quite different. Maybe your brother the same, because he made it into the world of professional football. I don't know whether his path was different, but I suppose I always had in my head that you were just like every other kid on the estate, but on a Saturday you played football and you played really well.
Yeah,
more than that,
I think it's
isn't it?
easy to look at it like that, and that's what happens. And most people do look at it. Even the young kid who's starting out to try and be a footballer, they look at it and go, "You just have to go training every day, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
You'll be all right. You just improve."
Yeah.
But there's so much more to it. There's so many layers, and the mental side of it is the bit that's underplayed and undervalued,
interesting.
because you don't realise you're making these decisions for the betterment of yourself, but you're almost like teaching yourself along the way, and by the end you'll realise actually them steps I took there and them big decisions that I made to step away from certain groups to make sure I was on time on this, and to the point of where I might lose a couple of friends for it, but you're going to be better off in the long run.
But then fast forward a number of years, so when you go into elite sport, that it seems to me that, again, from the outside, I'd be interested in your view of, you did the same thing there. So you were at good clubs in West Ham and then Leeds, but then you went into that rare elite of the top 1% by going to Manchester United.
Yeah.
How much of that same decision-making process that you'd made when you were a kid growing up in Peckham did you have to make going to United, of discarding friends, making different smart decisions?
Yeah, so certain friends who I'd been, not necessarily my core group of friends, but friends you then get along the way, I had to kind of not discard but just put at arm's length, because you're going to be detrimental to becoming a player that can stay at this football club and be successful. So decisions like that were made, like certain people. I still kept certain people along the way maybe I should have got rid of.
Yeah.
But you can't be perfect. But I think the obsession, the word obsessed, is something that was probably quite common in my life. I was obsessed with football and obsessed with being as good as I can and be obsessed with being successful, and I was obsessed with not being someone who came and fouled. So, and I was scared of that. I had a fear of failure. I had a fear
Even
of
now?
not winning. Yeah, I have a fear of not being regarded as a good pundit. A fear of not being known at, by the time my time's up on this planet, I've got a fear that people are going to go, he was just a footballer. I want to be known for something else. And that's the type of stuff that stimulates me and keeps me going and keeps me ticking. And that was how I was as a footballer. I'm not going to be a good footballer. I don't want to be a good footballer. I've got to be a good footballer. What's next? I want to be a top footballer. I want to be elite. I want to be considered one of the best in Europe, one of the best in the world. And it was always just, and one thing I did do from an early age, from probably 17, was set targets. Every beginning of every season, targets. Every single, whether it be, I want to play 30 games this year as a kid, and then I want to get into the England youth team, and I want to get into the reserves at West Ham and the first team. I want to get into the senior team, and then obviously with United, it was different, where you go, this team have got to feel the pinch if I'm not playing. If I'm not playing, if I'm injured, I've got to be considered an integral member of this team. I don't want to be considered just a team member. That's not enough for me. I need to know when I don't play, other people's head look around and go, oh shit, Rio's not playing. You've got to stimulate yourself somehow.
Would you do that with anyone, or was that something you just do on your own?
I saw a sports psychologist for a short period of time, for probably a month or two. And
Which club was that?
it was at United
Right.
when I first got there. And it was more about preparation. Because sometimes I used to find it hard to prepare for a game.
Yeah.
And you ask, what do you mean? It's more like my mind would be on, I'm going for dinner after the game and chatting to the boys, what music you're going to put on today, and I found it hard to just go concentrate on football, this game. So then I started getting videos on that before of a player who I'm playing against. So, I don't know, Suarez. On the Friday, I need all these clips for when we go in the hotel on Friday, and I want to have about 10 minutes worth of his clips I can watch from his last few games. So the last thing I see is Suarez before I go to bed. The last thing I think about for probably 30 seconds is Suarez, his best moves, his best tricks. What's his go-to trick when he's in the box to get a shot off? His best movements, what runs he likes making. Go to sleep, wake up, replenish that. What's his best this? What's
And that
his best
came from
that?
the sports psychologist?
Yeah, he said
Right.
visualise, and I'd visualise myself taking the ball off him. I'd visualise my first pass in the game, my first
So
duel.
even when you got to Man United,
Yeah.
you didn't think I've made it. You were still even then looking for the marginal gains,
Yeah.
looking for the little opportunities to be even better.
Yeah, because I was scared. I didn't want to be seen as one of the just also normal players in that dressing room. Yeah. I need you to miss me if I'm not playing. I want my teammates to go, flipping hell, Rio's top player, you know. That's a sense of pride for me. It was like, and then that meant that we're going to be successful.
So, can I ask you then about, to combine a few of the things about the setbacks and mistakes and about this preparation. During that period when you missed the drugs test at United and your absence was keenly noted that season.
We were top of the league when I left.
Yeah. So people definitely noticed you weren't there. But how did you process that mistake of letting down other people and
it was
and
hard,
costing
man.
them?
It was hard. And I still get people even now still say, there's no smoke without fire. But listen, I proved beyond any doubt at all that I hadn't taken any substances at all through doing like a hair follicle test that you do when you go in the army. That traces back like I think 18 months or 2 years.
Yeah.
So I'd never taken anything. But you get tarnished with that brush. And I was bitter at first. I hated the FA. I hated all the people at England who were speaking in my face, who smiled at me but then banned me. And then it became, again, obsession. I don't think I ever trained as hard and as frequent as I did in that period that I was banned. I think I had probably 2 or 3 weeks off to go on holiday, and I was sent on holiday by Sir Alex Ferguson. I trained harder, I was fitter than I've ever been in my life. And that's why when I came back in my first game, I could probably have played 2-3 games that day.
Right.
Through fitness, but adrenaline, etc. And I got man of the match that day on my first day back against Liverpool, it was.
That's right, yeah.
So it wasn't a small game, and it wasn't one where you could sit and hide and shrink.
But how did you learn to process that? Because that's
I just threw myself into training.
Was it? Because some people get stuck in the bitterness stage.
It was just like, I used that then as fuel. So all of the bad, you can imagine how many articles there were going around at the time from prominent big reporters, fans doing pieces, all of the chat rooms.
Did you not want to just shout, this is all nonsense, here is the truth? Or
I was advised not to badly by the lawyers at the time.
Right.
So I was advised not to speak. I should have spoke at the beginning and said, "This is my flag's going in the sand, and that's it. This is
Because
what it
people
is."
believe it or not, you have to tell them your own truth.
Yeah,
right?
I was advised not to, which I shouldn't have taken that advice. But it was legal advice, and you think, and I'm trying to protect the club as well.
Yeah.
So I don't want to bring any more stoke the fire or nothing like that. And they're saying be quiet and just let it die down. But it harmed me in the long run, really. But I used all of that hate and bitterness, and I used all of that reading all them articles and then people saying he's a drug cheat and he's this and he's that and he's not going to come back the same. And when I trained, I visualised all them people.
So did you read those articles about yourself?
Yeah, I did.
How was that?
Yeah, it's not nice, but that was my fuel. It was weird. I didn't like it, but I enjoyed it because I knew that when I'm training and things are getting hard when I'm running or I've got to do a certain gym session, I was just thinking I'm gonna throw that back down that man's throat. Watch, that's going down his throat. And a few times, to be fair, when I came back, I did pull a few reporters. Like, you're right, yeah, you thought I was gone. You thought I wasn't going to come back this, I want to come back better, watch. But that might be my upbringing, where I'm from, the way it is, you fight back straight away.
The thing is, it's such a big thing. Like, that isn't just a small setback where you've had a bad afternoon. This is like on every newspaper, not just in the UK.
Front pages.
This is global news, right? And it is months out of a game that you love. It is now part of the legacy because here we are, however many years later, still discussing it, right? So this is a big thing. So it's not the kind of thing you can prepare for. You don't know if in that situation it's gonna be too much, because everyone has a moment where it's just too much, right? But yet again, no different to when you were younger and you were playing with the older guys on the football field and you stepped up and delivered. It's kind of like that. It's exactly the same again, times by 1,000. Whatever it is, it's kind of within you. It's there.
Yeah.
It's
that fight and that desire and that being focused enough to say, you ain't gonna beat me.
Was there any part of you at any point that thought, I'm done, I'm gonna quit? I don't want this.
No, I thought about just not playing for England again. I'm going to come back and just smash it for Man United, and I ain't going to play for England, and you're going to miss me. But I couldn't do it in the end. I love football too much to have done that. But another thing as well is, please don't let United lose the league now. We're top of the league. I've left and we're top of the league. Please, I'm begging you. And then we lost the league, and then all of a sudden that's pride, and you're thinking, I owe it to this club to try and help
What's
them
Sir
win
Alex
the league.
like with you in this
He was
period?
unbelievable.
Was he?
Yeah, because he thought I'd been hard done by as well. You saw the facts of the case, and I think he's an honest enough man who'll go, actually, you've done wrong, Rio. Take your punishment. But he wasn't like that. He saw it for what it was. You've made a mistake, a genuine mistake that someone had made before, but you're getting punished in a way that is unprecedented. So
can I ask you, and again, this is picking up on a theme that we've had, but I think this would be intriguing for any young athlete listening to this. What advice would you give about hangers-on?
Sorry, can I just go back to that point before as
sorry,
well?
go on.
A lot of people in that situation would have blamed everyone. You're the reason I'm not playing now. You're the reason my career's just gone down the drain. You're the reason. And so in a lot of humans, being able to blame someone and shift responsibility allows you a way out. That's where we are now with a lot of people. And if you need the pride and you need the determination not to allow that, do you know what I mean? And it would have been easy for me to say, you know what, that's why I'm rubbish now. That's why my career's gone down the drain, because you lot have done that and punished me. And that could have been the story to my life after that, and lived off it.
This is the classic conversation that we've had a couple of times, fault versus responsibility.
Yeah.
You can argue in this instance it might have been your fault this happened.
No, it was. I said that at the beginning. It's my responsibility. I should have been there.
But it's not necessarily your fault the ban was as big as it was and you got treated like you did. But it doesn't matter, does it? Because as soon as they've said, right, Rio, how long was the ban?
8 months.
As soon as they've said, right, 8 months, no football, it's no one on the planet's responsibility at that moment
But mine.
than yours.
But then that's where
But
it
it's
becomes.
so easy. And I think now as a society,
Yeah.
we love fault. We love...
Yeah.
But
that's where it comes back from, where I know so in my mind I know there's a date that I come back. Actually, after a little while, it's Liverpool, the date that I come back. I've got a target now. Probably the best game I can come back to. Our biggest rivals. So that adds a pressure, and I've always dealt well with having that extra pressure on my shoulders. Like, if there's something on the exterior, outside of the bubble of football, that's adding pressure, I normally, I don't know why, but I've been able to play better. It's just probably refocuses me maybe. And so I had that something to aim at, and that was it. So, and then there's pride. If I come back and I'm rubbish, I've got to answer questions. Well, you're not the same Rio no more, are you? Look at you. What's happened? You've gone.
Yeah.
I've been so embarrassed
And that
to
was
let
your
that happen.
fuel.
Yeah,
You
that was
rode
it.
for that.
Yeah. But that's the equivalent of you missing that school bus.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's the pressure.
True.
But, sorry,
Go on, your point.
to go back to that, a number of times you've spoken about your friends from Peckham, you've spoken about where you were badly advised at that time. How would you advise people that when they start to have a level of success, they attract followers? What advice would you give now, having gone through that journey, about how you differentiate between those that are with you because they're worth having, or those that are there for other reasons that are probably unhelpful?
It's probably one of the hardest things to kind of dissect when you're in the midst of a career, of a successful period of your life, or when you're just on the cusp of being successful.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden your life goes from being normal paced to being a whirlwind of invitations, parties, people of the opposite sex. Everything is open. Every door you go to is open for you.
Yeah.
And everything becomes easier in life. And so there isn't anyone really telling you no. And to sit and actually take that all in when it's going so fast is very difficult. It's like being in a washing machine and try and actually dissect the colours from the whites while the washing machine's on. It's hard. You can't. It's virtually. It's almost impossible.
Performing at an elite level.
Exactly.
Week in, week out. I mean, I remember growing up watching you play for England, Leeds, Man United, and I think at the sort of West Ham Leeds period, I would have said from what I saw looking in the papers, you enjoyed a night out. Right?
Oh, I enjoyed it. Yeah. I more than enjoyed it.
How close were you then, for all that hard work from a 6-year-old on that estate in Peckham to throwing it all away by getting sort of carried along?
But there's a moment in life.
Found success.
Everyone in their life, there's a moment where there's a decision to be made. And my moment came. So, like you say, Leeds and West Ham, especially the early parts of Leeds, I overindulged in the nightlife, all the finer things that come with being a professional footballer. And I had people, my mum, my dad, Rio, raising their eyebrows at what you're doing. Like, well, you're leaving yourself wide open to criticism and to etc. You're not going to perform at your highest level. And the Euros came about. Kevin Keegan was manager, and I didn't get picked. And he came in and he took Gareth Barry, a younger player than me was, in my position. And again, embarrassment, pride, ego, smashed to pieces. I went away that summer, holiday, and I just vowed, like, this isn't happening again. And I trained that summer. That's when I first ever started training in the summer before I went back to pre-season. So you go back to pre-season with your team on, say, the 7th of July. I was training probably for 2 weeks before that on my own in the park, running around the park, doing drills.
Right.
So when I got back into training, I was fitter than everyone else. So all of a sudden, straight away, the manager's going, "Oh, whoa, he's fit. There's a difference to Rio. Look." And then all of a sudden, that became repetitive. Every single season, I've done that. Trained before I went back every year. From that time, 2000 to the day I retired, I trained before I went back to pre-season. And after that summer, that November, I got a move to Leeds. After being left out of the team, broke the British transfer record, and then it just continued escalating from there. So it's having that moment where you go, right, and the penny drops and you go, you've got to be mature enough to understand the situation and to make the right decision then.
Was it at Manchester United you went in when you realised that everyone was coming back 2 weeks beforehand, or was that common across?
Yeah, not everyone was doing that there, but I'd go on holiday and I'd be up 7 a.m. running, and people would be looking at me like, you're a lunatic. You just won the league or Champions League. I'll give you a story actually. Ashley Williams, he just signed for Swansea, I think, or he'd just gone up with Swansea.
Yeah.
And he was managed by the same guys that I'm managed by at New Era. And the guy said it'd be good for Ashley if you could come on holiday. We got invited to go to a hotel that was opening in Cyprus. Went there for 3 days. First night got there, had a night out. Second day all day drinking. Went out that night, and Ashley went down to breakfast. And he's gone to the guy Jamie who looks after us, like, where's Rio? He said, he's in the gym. He was in the gym yesterday as well. He's in the gym now. He said he's in the gym. I just won a Champions League in the league that year. And he was like, what's he doing? But that's just how obsessed I was. We've got another season. I need to repeat this. I need to repeat this stuff. So it was just a common theme all the time. And when I got to Man United, it was weird because, and I'll roll you back to the beginning of that, is I got there and I wasn't I was a good professional. I thought I was a good professional. And I went to United from Leeds and I saw top professionals. Not players, top professionals, professional athletes who looked after their bodies, who went out and had nights out. They weren't saints, went out and had nights out when it was right, at the right times, around games. Players that prepared for training on a daily basis properly, who recovered after training properly, who their standards on the training pitch were up here. And each person who was great at a certain thing that I thought he's the best at that, I tried to take a little bit out of their makeup. So Scholes, he's standard. He was the best player in training every day. I need to try and elevate myself to be the best defender every day or one of the best players in the team every day. You know what I mean? Roy Keane demanded standards of players. He demanded players, even if he wasn't performing great in training, he demanded other people apply themselves properly. I want to try and take that and develop that in my makeup. Giggsy was the best in preparation and recovery. He does yoga, I'm doing yoga. Like, just loads of stuff like that.
And
so
when you
I was always
first
on that.
come into that environment where you think West Ham is elite and you think Leeds is elite, then you go into the Man United dressing room and it is totally different. Who lets you know what is expected of a player in that environment?
The players.
Not the manager?
No, because it's like anyone, like a kid, you can tell a kid all the time. And a lot of kids, until they see it and they breathe it and they're in it all the time and they immerse themselves in it, actually I can follow that now.
So that image that we would all have externally of, you go in and Sir Alex Ferguson lays down the law. It was the players letting the other players know.
He'd laid the law down years ago. And then all of a sudden, the machine then works itself. Right. And he allowed, what was great about Sir Alex Ferguson is he allowed the leaders in the changing room to run that changing room. I could probably count on one hand how many times he come into our changing room, the training ground. We're there every day. Never comes in there. You run it.
And who were the leaders then when you went in?
When I first went there?
Yeah.
Keeney obviously was the captain. Gary was more like he was more like the voice of reason. All the captain's jobs that you need to do, like the paperwork and the busy stuff, he done. Giggsy in his own way, quiet, but there was ridiculous success that he was just demanding respect.
And how would you now describe the expectation of the Man United dressing room? You go in there.
Say again.
How would you now describe the expectation? So you go in there on day one. What is expected at that period? What was expected of a Manchester United player at that time?
To expect to win.
Games
expect to win.
Or titles?
Titles, trophies. You take a trophy a season, minimum.
And was that the same at Leeds?
No, Leeds was trying to catch Man United. If we can get in the Champions League, it's an unbelievable achievement.
Right.
And lesser and staying up at West Ham. So I'd gone through that gradual process of different expectations and demands. But once I got to United, it was more just like, listen, the expectations when we was there was just, you got to win a trophy. Finish the season in. This finishing as a Champions League position.
Yep.
Foreign to me. Don't know that. I don't understand that. We're there to win trophies, and that's it. You're judged on what you win, and your standards every day of training, and like. You wouldn't accept people just like tossing it off in training.
What would happen if someone did?
I'd be screaming and shouting. I'd call you out. I'd embarrass you, whether it's through humour or straight. What are you doing? What's fix up? We're good. And losing a game in training because you're messing about. Are you mad? No, you're not going to ruin my day.
So can I ask you then, like, would you call people out when you were at Leeds or West Ham, or was that something you learnt to do at United?
So then people say you're born leaders.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I wasn't a great communicator, a talker. I was with someone the other day and they said, like, all you used to do is shout. I used to do my head in. I used to think, what are you shouting for? They used to say, because you just shout so much. But I only started shouting and talking and pulling people about in a game or in training when I fully understood my role on the pitch. where I'm meant to be. And then I could start understanding and thinking about other people's roles to be able to have the confidence to shout at them where you're meant to be. Get here, 5, get back, push up, left, right. I was vocal. I was always shouting in training. I was always the loudest. And same in training. I would, bad loser, scream and shout. If we lost and I thought it was someone's fault, they would be told straight. I'd be screaming.
You came in though as a record transfer fee, right?
Yeah.
Were they keen to let you know that despite the fact that you were the record signing, they were the ones that were the winners and you were coming into their environment?
No.
Were they keen to bring you down a peg or two?
Come into it.
Really?
And that's what
So
made
it was a welcoming
that's what gave me
environment until you didn't deliver, and then.
But a steely welcome. It wasn't open arms. All song and dance and flowers, and it was come and join this. And I had the feeling that they believed I could make it better as well. Because obviously they had David Peckham, Scholesy, Butty, the Nevilles, all the England boys there who I played with England anyway. So then they knew if I was good or bad for the team. So, and I believe that they'd maybe told when people have asked, is he good enough? Yes, he is, and I felt that. So that gave me confidence.
So how did you prepare for that then? So, and again, I love that image of you kicking a ball around, hoping those guys in Peckham would invite you to
Same
join
in
in
training. Same. It's the same, just on a different stage.
Yeah.
Like my first training session was probably the most nervous I've ever been playing football, because these guys are waiting to see what does £30 million look like. And
What did it look like?
It looked like shit at the time, but because I was so nervous. But I gradually improved. And again, my first season at Man United, we won the league. But I didn't feel like I was an integral, vital member of that team. They wouldn't have missed me if I didn't play, I felt. And I didn't feel like I even warranted the medal in a mad way.
Really?
Like, I took it almost reluctantly, like, this ain't enough. I need them to be thinking about me like they think about X, Y, and Z over there. Like we know we can't deal with that rude in this team. I want to be like that. I need to be like that.
When did that change then? Because if you sign for Manchester United, you know, you have a legend walking around Carrington or Old Trafford, Bobby Charlton, someone like that. At what point, and it's hard to ever think you're level
like
with
that's
him,
the pressure at
but
Man
at
United.
what point did you think, yeah, do you know what, I can hold my head up high now in the company of Bobby Charlton?
Until we won the Champions League, I felt kind of in awe. Not in awe was the wrong word, but I felt a little bit like I'm not at that level yet. I can't look at Robbo. I can't look at Sir Bobby Charlton and go, how you doing, without real, like, I'm like you, man. Like, I don't know, you're held in higher esteem or you're a better player than me, but I've done something that I'm etching myself in the history of this club from my little bit of my percentage that I've put in.
See, because that really intrigues me, because I remember reading an interview that you'd done in 2008 when there was the 50th anniversary of Munich, and Sir Alex had brought Bobby Charlton in to come and speak to the squad. And you were the one that came out and spoke most movingly and passionately about understanding your place in the context of Manchester United, in the history of it, from the Babes right the way through to the Bestlaw, Charlton and so on. How? So was all that part of wanting to be
and
in
that's
the
what
pantheon?
scares me about Man United now. Do these players, are they told, are they about the culture at this club? Is there a culture that they can buy into now?
Yeah.
That's what scares me at Man United now. Yeah, we're losing, we're not winning the league, we don't look anywhere near winning the league for the next couple of years probably. But the biggest scare for me is, like, when I went to Manchester United, there was a culture, not about winning at the time, yes there was that, but the backstory of the disaster in the Munich, the Busby Babes, Sir Matt Busby, what he was to the club, through to Sir Alex Ferguson, how he then rebuilt the place. I knew that story, I weren't told it. I never even sat and I don't remember actually sitting and reading a book about it or anything like that, but you see and hear so many different things that it becomes part of your DNA almost, and you buy into it.
So that phrase there, culture, intrigues me. So culture is effectively about behaviours, just non-negotiable behaviours that people buy into. Now, I don't believe you can have more than 3 behaviours that define a culture. So what would you say were the 3 behaviours that define the culture at Manchester United that you experienced?
Training standards.
So high standards.
High standards in training was a culture. Work ethic. And that mentality to win. The hunger, there's a desire there that burns every day, you can see.
Players that were signed
Gone.
and didn't have it.
Get out.
Really?
Yeah, I hated them.
And how Did you?
Yeah, I hated them with a passion.
'Cause they were affecting your legacy.
Yeah, you're not gonna. I want to win. You're gonna affect me winning. So there'll be players out there. I know there's players out there that will say Rio just used to drill me all the time. You picked on me a little bit, but I knew you weren't right for this place, and I would either humour you out of the place in terms of making you feel like you shouldn't be here, or you better up your game if you're going to stay here, or I would be on you. And I'd make you
that's expected. Under no uncertain terms, every player that came through that door was somehow told what's expected at Man United, right?
I think I got Berbatov was a good example, yeah, and he had a fair amount of success at Man United when he came. So, but he probably could have done more, yeah. Especially at the beginning, I remember a training session had to be stopped because before a Champions League final it was, I think, and he didn't come across the pitch. I had the ball on one side and he was on the other side of the pitch. He's our centre forward, by the way, almost on the left wing, and I've got the ball and I'm waiting for him to come to help me so I can pass the ball to him or pass it up the pitch because we were being marked out of the game deliberately in the training session. So to play over the press, he's still over there. I'm screaming, I'll kick the ball off the pitch, I'm going mad. Get over here! And he's relaxed, typical Berber. Just wait till I get over there, play around until I get there, and then we can play. And I was going mad. And he said, Barcelona will just keep it and play and wait till the players come over there and then play. I said, we're not Barcelona, this is Man United. We are different. You don't do that Barcelona stuff, go to Barcelona. We play a way that you're meant to change to play towards. We're not changing to play your game. Come and you change to play like Man United, and that's it. And I don't think that culture ain't there now. That vibe ain't there now.
It's
people
hard,
coming
though.
to Man United, play the way I play. Play for me.
Yeah.
That ain't what happens.
So how
Big
much
team.
did you see your responsibility then, as well as maintaining the standards there, to educate the next wave that were coming in behind you, to get them to understand it? How much of your role did you see it to educate, or did you regard that
Well, they
as somebody
probably
else?
affected. Maybe it's intertwined because if they don't deliver, you don't deliver, do you?
Yeah, that's
So
what it was.
it's like-
It wasn't like it wasn't a thought process.
didn't care
like
about them.
I've got. Yeah, it wasn't.
You cared about-
I was hammering them or trying to pick them up to help me.
Yeah.
I want to win. I don't want to be. I'm sitting there. Roy Keane's gone now, but he's got 5 league titles. I want to beat that. Do you know what I mean? Ince got 2 at the time. I want to beat Ince's record. I see them as great players. I want more than them people.
Yeah.
I want more than what Giggsy's got when he's going to retire, but he fucking never retired. But do you know what I mean? You're always setting targets of people you want to get beyond, and if there's anybody that's detrimental to them chances of me going high, get them out.
And you talk about FIFO, fit in or fuck off, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great.
But the difficult thing about that, I think, is that people do need to FIFO, but also in a football team or in any environment, and if there's business leaders listening to this podcast, they are trying to create an environment where mavericks and leaders and people with amazing skills can come in and add to the environment rather than come in and be crushed by it. I think that's quite a difficult thing to get right, isn't it?
It is hard because I think, like for instance, Wilfried Zaha, huge talent, great individual talent, and maybe it's down to maturity that he never succeeded at Manchester United, and I think he wasn't helped by the club as well, and the management at the time. But he's a player I was onto on a regular basis, and he probably would say now, looking back, flipping Rio was onto me, but it was for the betterment of the team. It wasn't from that I had a personal issue with him or anything like that.
Yep.
I saw that he could be a great asset. But he needs this and that, and I'm going to try and put it into him and get onto him every day. But at the same time, he might not have been mature enough already at the time to take all that on. And so maybe I got that wrong. I don't know.
Which leads me then to a question around leadership. So you seem like you were pretty strident. If somebody's not cutting the mustard, you call them out right away, or like you say, you take the piss out of them to change them. How much room do you think there would have been in that environment for somebody to put their arm around the shoulder and nurture somebody that wouldn't have, that maybe needed that? No?
No. Sir Alex Ferguson was good at that. But, like I remember Cristiano. We came in for a couple of days. Where's Cristiano? His dad had passed away. Sir Alex Ferguson gave him, I think, a few days off, gone back to Portugal. And I'm in there sitting thinking, fuck, that's a fucking liberty. As bad as it is, and I look back now and think, fuck, you've got to be a bit softer. But at the time, I'm thinking, well, we need him this weekend, by the way. We need to win this game, big game. he should be training. Well, why is he not training and we are? What's going on? We need it all together. We're in this together. And that was how hardened kind of it was. And you're in that bubble of relentless desire to win that you don't see. You're not seeing clear enough to actually appreciate emotion sometimes. Right. And so it becomes a game of like, you need someone sometimes. That's why you need good coaching staff. You need people on the outside who can go, you know what, hold on, listen, come, take to the side a minute. See it through this prism a little bit.
Yeah.
See it through this lens and guide you into actually understanding other people's situations. Like in the changing room, I wouldn't know who's stressing or going through any turmoil in their life 99 times out of 10.
Right.
Because it's not an environment that enables people to let out that emotion.
Is that healthy?
It's seen as weakness. No, when we talk about mental health today, it's massive in buzzword in our society now.
Yeah.
You weren't allowed to talk.
Is it still the same?
I don't know. I'm not in the change rooms at the moment, so I wouldn't know. But I know at my time, someone's in the corner crying. I would have been one of the first ones to go, oh, he's crying. Oh, my God. Get him. What's he doing? Go and get a doctor. Doc, he's crying, like taking a piss.
So when you transitioned out of that environment into like the real world, how did you find that transition? Because that kind of behaviour can come across as sociopathic or uncaring.
It wouldn't work in a normal office.
Right, yeah.
The way we was, and we talk about this a lot. Our banter don't work in normal offices.
No.
Doesn't. You're going to HR, getting reported.
So how have you made that transition? Because you're obviously successful in lots of different aspects.
And we
now.
spoke before we come on here, awareness. And you have to be aware enough to understand your environment that you're in, and what the rules are, what the differences are to what you're used to, and just educate yourself in that sense and just be aware, because if
Have
you're
you
not...
made some mistakes? Have you got some examples of mistakes that you've made?
Not in the workplace, like working with BT where we work.
I think you're probably too smart or sharp, or you think too much about it.
Or conditioned to be aware.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I think conditioned to be aware is probably the best way to put it, because I wouldn't say I'm too smart or too educated to do it. I've been conditioned to know that there's a pitfall on the end of every word or action that you make.
Yeah.
So
He still swears in the studio when he shouldn't.
yeah, that's probably one of the ones.
With about 5 seconds to go to on air.
So can I, like, we spoke, as you say, off air about this, that word awareness. Can I ask you about the end of your career then? Because I often speak with athletes around this, and the two examples I often use are, if you, like, towards the end of your career, you can either go out like Eric Cantona, where you go out at the top and everyone wants more from you, or you can go out like Muhammad Ali, where everyone feels a bit of pity when you're fighting Trevor Berbick in a car park.
Yeah.
As a guy that did seem to be aware, I often find it quite strange that your career ended with a bit of a fizzle down by leaving United in ignominious circumstances after that day in Southampton, and then going to QPR just seemed a bit of a strange move.
I think that the circumstances, there was a backstory obviously with my personal life, that remaining busy and in work was important.
Right.
But the way my career ended at Manchester United, it was almost like the book wasn't closed. I've not even said like bye to the fans. There's not been a parting of the ways between us. Well, you normally get an idea if you're going to get a new deal or not, either one way or the other, before the last day of the season. Listen, someone comes to you, the CEO, Ed Woodward, would come to you normally and go, we're not giving you a deal, or we know you're not going to sign, so look for pastures new end of the season. I didn't get either of them. Last day of the season, we play Southampton, game finishes, and I come in a change room, and the directors and stuff always come into the change room, home and away, and just shake the players' hands. So Bobby Charlton, Ed Wood would come in, and then he stood next to me, Ed Woodward, or sat next to me at that point after the game, my boots all still on, etc., and just said, listen, we're not going to renew your deal. Thanks for your services at the club. You're free to go and just speak to other clubs and what you want to do. And I was like, wow, is that the way it's going to end?
Why? Why like that? For someone that had done as much as you?
No, that was what I thought. Like, well, surely you could have given me a heads up before, and so I could have actually had a little bit of a goodbye.
Did you say that
to the fans? I did at a later date, yeah. But at the time, at the moment, I was just numb. I just sat there like, whoa. Actually, I thought because it got to so late in the season, it was the last day of the season, I thought, well, there's probably going to be a role for me here somewhere, doing something, whether playing or coaching, playing or whatever, or given an option to do something, because they surely would have told me before this day. But it never happened, and I just felt that I deserved to be able to say bye to the fans, to people at the club, the dinner ladies, CAF on reception, but I just wasn't afforded that kind of the time to do that, and I was bitter for a little while, if I'm honest.
It's a strange way. We just sat here and spoken for half an hour about elite environments and bringing people in, the culture of winning, and
that's what really made me start
weird.
thinking, like, this place isn't being run properly. This isn't the best team in the land and in Europe, in the world, that I consider should be doing things. And then after that, I'm seeing the way that people, like other players who've done 10 or plus more years at clubs, leave their club, and I'm thinking, wow, I didn't get this. This is mad. Like,
and how? So, when we talk about during that period when the culture was really, really firing and high performing, how did people handle exits then? So when it was, I'm trying to think of examples.
What, people that have been
like
there a
Gavin
long
Neville,
time,
somebody
or
like that? Like, how was his exit different from yours?
I don't know. I don't look at other people like that. I wouldn't go, let me compare. Well, okay, Vidic is probably a better example. He'd been told earlier, not signing.
Yep.
You can go somewhere else. It was the media obviously were allowed to know. The fans all knew. End of the game, last day of the season. See you later. So he had probably 2 months of saying bye to everyone. Thanks, great conversations with certain people. I've had a great time here, etc. The fans clapped him off, deservedly so. And I was sitting there after, when I'm looking back, thinking, wow, I weren't afforded that. Do you know what I mean?
And why do you think that is then?
I don't know.
So
I don't
if you
know.
apply that awareness,
maybe short-sighted. Someone didn't see it, just overlooked it. I don't know.
Do you think on reflection, though, it's
but then there's a lot of players that could say that as well. Sitting my like John O'Shea, done over 10 years. Wes Brown, product of the youth academy, same. Went out like that. Darren Fletcher probably. You know what I mean? A lot of players went out like me, like that.
You've gone on, though, to run numerous businesses, right? We're sitting in one of your restaurants now, whether it's magazines, working in TV, your own clothing brand, the social media stuff. You've got loads of things going on. Isn't that another sort of weirdly fortunate opportunity where being shown the right way to do stuff is fantastic, but sometimes getting a lesson in life in the wrong way to do it is again a brilliant lesson for you personally, because you now know when you're working with other people how not to do it.
Other people's feelings, other
Absolutely.
people's how they you can see it and think. Fast forward, how would they react to that? And a lot of the decisions that I make, whether it's through business and whatnot that I'm involved in, when I'm talking to people, I do consider their feelings a lot more. I'm a lot more aware. Again, awareness. I'm a lot more aware of feelings and how I approach a situation and how they might feel when the situation's been addressed. And I try to be very accommodating, but with a steeliness as well. And but it's difficult. It's not easy when you're in the midst of it all. So sometimes you've got to try and take a step back to do that. But I mean, going to QPR was probably one of the best things I've done, because at the time I wanted to be a manager. And going into management for Man United, where it was a well-oiled machine for 12, 13 years, I hadn't seen any instability really, or problems. The place just run itself with his eyes closed. Fergie could have gone away for a couple of days, no one wouldn't notice mainly. But got to QPR and I saw a lot of how it shouldn't be run. How things shouldn't be done.
What was wrong then? How shouldn't it be done? What did you learn there?
Yeah, communication from the top to the bottom of the place. No one communicated. No one was singing from the same hymn sheet, whether it's the coaching staff and players. Players didn't believe in the management.
I remember you telling me you were surprised that suddenly the players were talking about money.
Yeah, that simple thing like that. I've never spoken about money before in my life in a change room, ever. Yep. None of this like, what are you on? Oh, I'm on 60 grand a week. Flipping hell, I'm going to sit here for 3 years, I don't care. I'm hearing these type of conversations. I'm sitting there going, wow, what is this? This is alien to me. That's why you are who you are. That's why you're here. That's why you've not fulfilled potential.
And did you tell them that? Would you have those
I'd
same conversations that you'd had at
people
United?
that I wanted to have their conversation. Because listen, fortunately at Man United, I was fully invested, committed to everything to win, to be successful at Man United. And when you go to somewhere like QPR and you're hearing all this stuff and it's negativity's flying about, it's like, how do you become committed to that? How do you invest in that? And it becomes draining, and it's like, this ain't going nowhere. So you kind of almost disengage, and you're like, wow, listen, these guys, so you try and just pull people on the sly. listen, that situation, you could have dealt with that so much differently. Like, have you thought about maybe doing it like this? Yeah, I know, but I just got caught up at the moment and blah, blah, the emotions got the better of me, or some of them just didn't care. So you're fighting a losing battle, and so I thought to myself, wow, this is the best thing I've done coming here. It's the worst thing because I've had a nightmare of a time here. But I've seen now, because I'm not going to go in and be a manager at Man United straight away. I will come to this type of level or lower. And I've seen now what it can run like, and I'm much more aware again of what I'm going into.
And did that put you off going into management or tempt you to do that?
I still wanted to, and obviously the situation that happened off the field with me in my private life determined that I wasn't going to go into management, and I won't go into management. So, but that whet my appetite even more. I'm filled with more. I've got more weapons now. I know what to expect.
And I wonder whether what happened with your wife, your first wife Rebecca, passing away, actually means that despite all the stuff that you've done, all the things you've seen, all your successes, again, it's something that nobody wants to go through, but you're the kind of person that learns from every opportunity or every eventuality in your life, and that maybe this was a reminder at the right time for you that after an amazing career, actually family and being there now for your kids and being there with Kate, and maybe that now becomes the most important thing in your life.
Yeah, it is, 100%. Listen, you wouldn't wish that on anyone. Yeah, probably the 2-3 years that I had when my mum passed away as well was like, you can't, that's not on the script. It shouldn't be on the script for anyone. But again, I've got 3 kids that will be relying on me to make sure that I stand up and I get going again, and I can be an inspiration to them. I can show them steps in life and be that kind of person they look to for inspiration or for guidance or just to watch and learn. Like even going in the gym, we messed about going in the gym. You're in early in the gym, whatever. But my kids are leaving school to go to school at whatever time it is in the morning, before 7 or 7 o'clock, whatever it is. And they're seeing me all kitted up to go in the gym, and I'm walking in the gym as they're walking out. I ain't telling them to be healthy. I'm not telling them this is part of a lifestyle. They're knowing that's a lifestyle. They're knowing that's why Dad's healthy and that's why Kate is healthy. That's part of it. They need to see that repetition, regular, of doing this type of thing that becomes a lifestyle. It's not a chore. And so
can I ask you on something a bit more personal then about that period of your life, that you want to set the example for your children in terms of habits and things like that. What kind of help did you give them then in terms of processing real profound grief like that during a time? Because
I had to ask a lot of people. I had to speak to a lot of people because it's something that I had no knowledge of. I had no understanding of it. I'd never had grief like that before, so I didn't know. I couldn't pass on information to my kids and try and guide them without being informed. So I had to ask questions, and that's why I've done that documentary.
Right.
Because it was an informative process. It was therapeutic. And it was lots of findings to help my children, which then would help others. And
what were the main lessons you learned from that then?
Communicate, talk. You're right today. I never used to say that to my kids really. It's weird. But how are you today? Is everything all right? Sit down, let's just talk about, are you missing anyone or anything, or do you miss doing anything? Is there anything that I can do to make you feel better? And eventually, like, Kate does that. What can we do? Or do you want to go out with one of us? Tia, do you just want to go out with Kate and spend time with just you and Kate? Yeah, I'd love to do that. But so having them moments of communicating and making the kids part of that understanding and that process was huge, because communicating with my children, as much as I was an unbelievable communicator in a changing room, I weren't a great communicator emotionally or at home. I wasn't.
And again, I don't wish this to be crass because that's something deeply personal, but do you think if you'd have had the ability to ask people that, are you okay, how are you getting on in the dressing room, that dressing room environment could have been even stronger or even better?
Yeah, like, I think I could have probably helped someone like Anderson more if I was a bit softer. Anderson had unbelievable talent. I see him play against Steven Gerrard and Cesc Fabregas in his early days. He was unplayable, but he couldn't maintain that. And there were different reasons I won't go into, but there were different reasons why. And if I wasn't so harsh or piss-taking with him to try and prick him to step out of what he was being like And if I put my arm around him more, it might have been a difference. Listen, I might not have ever changed him, I don't know, but I maybe could have done stuff different to help, or to influence others to help, maybe. And I could say that about other players as well in the dressing room that had gone and been and gone. But it's all a learning curve, isn't it? If I had my time again, I would definitely be someone I could put my arm around someone.
Talking of a learning curve, we're going to finish with just a few real quick-fire questions.
Yep.
The first one is, what advice would you give to a young Rio just starting out on life once again?
What advice would I give to a young Rio?
A little lanky Rio, wandering about in Peckham with his big backpack on, going to ballet.
I don't know, man. I wouldn't change nothing that happened. I know it's a cliche, that saying, but I just wouldn't change shit. I wouldn't change it.
Would you tell him to enjoy the journey a little bit more?
Yeah, sorry. Good shout. I would tell him.
Because I sense from you, it's been brilliant, but you were
enjoy it.
Single-minded.
Winning,
You
when
come
I
out
won,
the other side, it's like you being in a washing
but
machine.
when I won, it was a relief.
Yeah.
I didn't win and yes, this is unbelievable. What a victory. We just beat so-and-so. Do you know what that means?
You didn't enjoy winning.
It was a
relief.
relief.
Just removed the pressure for a couple of days.
Pressure was alleviated because it was a relief. So I enjoyed the moment more at the time. But then I always say, well, that would have affected me winning more then. So why would I want to do that? It's a mad game in your head.
There's the winner's mentality coming through again. Very good.
So, are you happy?
Yeah, I'm probably the happy. I can say that I'm probably the happiest I've ever been. Unbelievable.
So, if anyone was listening to this and wanted to access happiness, what advice would you give them?
Talk, communicate. I know it's simple. It sounds simple, but I've become a much better communicator. It's going to sound like a bit like naff, but I've become a better person. I've communicated more probably since I've met Kate because she's helped me do that. She's a good communicator, and sometimes you need influence of other people to show you what. If you do adjust a little bit or tweak a little bit, that there are improvements to be made, and communicating with friends and family to sort out situations, negative situations, turn them into positives. Areas where you're not sure about certain things, talk, and you always feel lighter after. You feel better.
Listen, to have sort of seen you go through that journey over the last 5 or 6 years, to hear you sit here and say you're the happiest you've ever been is absolutely wonderful.
Nice one.
My final question for you is, how important is legacy to you?
Massive. Like I said to you earlier when we sat down, my biggest kind of goal in life now, other than family and stuff, is to, yes, you played football, you want to be appreciated for what you've done and respected for what you've done, but I want that again to be repeated in another life.
You're saying your story's not over, it's only just beginning, yeah?
Yeah, there's another story, another chapter somewhere where people go, actually, wow, Rio done that. I didn't realise he was behind that, or he was involved in that. So that's what I want. I want to be successful in another sphere, in another industry.
And what's your one golden rule to live a high performance life?
To apply yourself correct every day. Apply yourself, and it's not one, there can't be one, and to set targets. Set targets, what's the pathway? That pathway on the way, the journey might change a little bit, but set a pathway to get to a target, and you've got something to aim for.
And go for it.
Thank you very much, mate.
Cheers, guys.
Really enjoyed that.
Cheers. Cool.
Thanks.
Top man. Thanks, mate. Brilliant.
Nice one.